The second thing that has very well happened, which is sadly now reversing, is rupee depreciation. Keeping rupee low is the best way of Atmanirbharta. We should stop seeing rupee as some kind of a national prestige or something. Japan yen was 300 when they were growing, before Plaza Accord. 1986, they signed a Plaza Accord, 85. That's after, that's where US dollar got depreciated by 30%. The countries compete for depreciation. Nobody wants appreciation. Only here we want appreciation. So I think we have to keep rupee, I think we got scared when rupee started touching 100 and pulled it back by announcing all kinds of risky measures we have taken. Now, now we are making people borrow and put money into India and assuring them of dollar rate in the future. This is what we're doing, which is very dangerous. Because after 3 years, they're going to pull out. That will create a crisis on its own. May not. At that time, things are stable. It may not create. But we are taking that risk. In finance, we live in ex-ante world, not in an ex-post world. Before the fact, there was no need to do something like that. So I think depreciating rupee is a good thing. Our exports are picking up.
But it's tough to tell someone whose net worth is like depreciating also with the rupee, right?
No. So I'm thinking from a country's point of view, as a policy point of view.
But individuals will not see the country point
of view.
No,
individuals see. No.
अगर मेरे सेविंग्स कल 5% गिर जाए तो मुझे तो गुस्सा ही आएगा ना.
नहीं, आपका सेविंग्स गिर जाए गुस्सा आएगा. Good that now you're pushing back. I like this. This, look, another thing I've seen can I criticize podcasters and all that?
100%.
Yes.
But sir, मैं podcaster नहीं, talk show host.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Whenever someone comes and claims to be a scholar, there is no pushback at all. Very obvious things. Like things like banking mein improve nahi hua hai, even if I say, I don't get pushback at all. Whereas politicians get so much pushback. Why are these intellectuals not held accountable? Now, after some time, next year, you should call me and say, last year you said this, airports are bad. And now look, because of the airports in Gulbarga, there is Fab factory come up and Gulbarga has become New York.
मैंने नोट कर लिया अगर हुआ ना you wait and watch.
I should also be, that never happens. I like your pushback. I agree with you. There are costs, and I'm writing an article which will come up in 2-3 days. As a student of economics, I'm not claiming there are no costs. Of course, your oil price will go up. Your petrol bill will go up. Imports will lead to some inflation. What about the benefits? The thing you have to look at is cost and benefit. While your 5% might have gone down, the Tirupur guy who's sitting at home has job. My exports, which used to be $34-35 billion, is now $44 billion. Export growth is 17%. And the benefit of export, it's not just export. When we export, and again I come back, we learn. We learn to compete in those markets. We get skills, we get technology. And that has spillover effect on the local economy. Because now, a local guy who is not exporting will also have to compete with you. You started exporting. You learned all the new things. Your knowledge is not in silos. That knowledge will come into your domestic products also. Now, I as a domestic guy to even compete with you to survive, I have to upgrade myself to that level. The positive spillover effect of export is so much that these costs, which some people will bear, is definitely worth it. Of course, there is no policy where nobody will bear no cost. That is why as a policy maker, this is why it is tough. If there is a policy which we call as Pareto optimal, where nobody is worse off, then every politician will do it. The thing is about trade-off. You will have to make somebody worse off. And let's look at data. There is no country of these 5-6 countries which grew at 8. First of all, very few countries have grown at 8-10%. All of these have grown by exports. Tell me which country has grown without exporting. Because it is not export. People miss this. It is a learning from export. The spillover effect of export. See, when I say defense, of course, I'm as a nationalist, one thing it's very sad that I should use the word confess among scholars that I'm a nationalist, right? Among scholars, it's a confession that you have to make because it's quite rare.
It's a taboo subject.
Yeah, it's a taboo subject. But defense, I don't understand. Keep it aside. But one thing I understand, the defense will lead to knowledge. Lot of internet and many of these things.
There's a multiplier effect.
Multiplier is crazy from defense. So if you really want to spend capex, my request is, and it fits in the agenda also of the government, that make defense. Not defense research here. Not just again making some defense corridor or making some roads are good, but do defense research. So Ukraine is an example. I'm willing to sort of if Ukraine-Russia war ends, it may end very badly because Russia is now getting beaten. So now he may unleash a lot of things, and then I don't know how it is, because once you are wounded, you never know what you do. But let's say it ends in some way. I think there's a very good interview of John Kotkin. You should see this. His claim is the technology that they are now front and center in drones. They are not replicating what US did. US will have to replicate what they are doing. Ordinary people, where they are young, their children are all not in that country. Most of the young are not in their country. Half the population is, that these 20-something sitting with no knowledge have created technology when there is necessity. And this is where pure market view is wrong. For a pure market view, Ukraine, if it is useful, they should have done it before. An economist will ask, अब क्यों कर रहे हैं? पहले से अगर useful था तो पहले. Now you'll realize this technology that they've created will have civilian application. It will have implication on health. It will have application on education. It will have infrastructure everywhere. So I will not be surprised if Ukraine really starts growing crazily. Initially, they'll grow because of destruction from war, but sustained manner. So government budget, the focus should be on spillover effects, positive spillover effects. That thinking is missing. And slightly it is coming. That is why, once that comes in, I think I will take it, I'm not saying just to Swachh and all that.
It's tough now. I mean, as a human, you're asking me to make sacrifices for the spillover effect that will happen 10-15 years on a national level.
As a policymaker. No, it's not 10-15. Export is straight away. Tirupur guy is already, in fact, as a politician, you are not my median voter. As a politician, it makes sense. What will you do? You will write some articles and write something. Who cares? Even from politically, I'm speaking. Median voter is that guy who's a factory worker. So that guy is benefiting. And that guy's consumption is local. You are benchmarking your wealth with dollar. Purchasing power, we are not become worse. So as long as you're consuming locally, you don't need to. I'm not saying you should not worry. People like you and me worry a lot. We have to worry. Because our consumption is not local. We are consuming tradables. Imagine a person who consumes mostly non-tradables. If you're consuming non-tradables, who cares what the price is? Of course, there will be some price rise. But what about jobs? I'm willing to tolerate some price rise for 30-40% more jobs or more exports. But the point I'm trying to say is that's the only model that has worked. Export. And not because of export. That nuance is missing because of learning.
So we should be happy the rupee is dropping.
Yeah. See, look. This again.
It's a tough argument, tough to convince people.
No. Tough to convince people. If they wait for some time, the numbers will be apparent. You should, if it drops, like in Pakistan, if currency drops, then they should not be happy because their currency is dropping because of inflation. In 2013, when rupee dropped, it's not political. You should not be happy. You know why? Because we had 12% inflation. It was just reflecting inflation. It was not doing anything. It was not making us more competitive. And we had a current account deficit of 5.5%, which means we were importing more than exporting to the extent of 5.5% of GDP. Today, we are sitting at almost zero current account deficit. Current account last 2 months were surplus. So this rupee is helping us. The question I have to ask you, do you want some of your imported items to be cheaper or you want a job? That's the choice to the median voter. I think most people would prefer job.
Right.
And learning opportunity and growth. This is how Korea got jobs. This is how China got jobs. China is accused of being a currency manipulator. Nobody accuses China of keeping their currency high. People accuse China of keeping their currency low. Right? Everyone keeps their currency low. In Japan, after they agreed for an appreciation, the country died. After Plaza Accord, after 1 or 2 years, they started collapsing. So, I'm not saying we should depreciate like 50%. Slow and steady 2-3% depreciation is required. Now, the sudden decline, there I sympathize with you. It's a big problem not for us, big problem for borrowers. Borrowers, it's a very big problem. If you borrow in dollars, suddenly currency depreciates. You have to pay a lot. You understand this. That is a problem, and I get it. But that is not so big in India right now. Our total external commercial borrowings is $700 billion. Our forex reserve is $700 billion. For that segment, it's a problem. But why this happened? Sudden depreciation. That also is our own mistake. We kept the rupee higher between 22 and 25. People don't get this. In real terms, rupee was appreciating between 2021 and 24, which means suppose we have 5% inflation. US has 3% inflation. our currency should depreciate by 2% just to keep prices as they are. Otherwise, we will become less competitive. Between 21 to 24, we pursued a policy of keeping the rupee higher. I don't know why. Our rupee appreciated by 10% in real terms, although nominally it was depreciating between 81 to 82. We should have reached 87, 88 by then only. Then this fall wouldn't have looked so volatile. Because we kept it 10% higher, this fall is looking worse than what it actually is. This should have been a much smoother fall. That I agree with you. But directionally, should it fall? 100% it should. We should not get emotional with 100 and all that. 100 is just a number. I start my article by saying, again referring to Milton Friedman, there is a very good video of Milton Friedman saying why economists disagree. Then he says, of course economists disagree, but put 10 economists and 10 non-economists. You will find even those, and these 10 can be of varying ideologies. There will be more agreement among these 10 than the other 10. So this is one, you ask any serious person who studies, should the currency appreciate or depreciate? Nobody will say it should appreciate, as a policy, because that's called Dutch disease. It's called, there is a name. Of course, should it collapse? No. Then it will lead to revolution. It should not collapse. And volatility should control. That is why you have forex reserve. Should it move like 2% every day? No. But what should be the direction? Direction should be down. In the sense, next year we should be at 96, next year 98, 100, 102. We should go that way.
I've taken a note. I'm documenting this. I'll hold you accountable. I'll come back.
You should hold me accountable.
I'll come back and then we'll check.
No. Now you should. Now the sad part is they're with these policies, they have arrested that decline. So my fear is this 3-month success we had on exports. That may not continue if we pursue this policy. They have arrested it. They should let it go. There was no need to go to NRI. See, this is the problem, right? Economic history is so potent. We misapply economic history. This is what Neil Ferguson, something I learned from 2013 में राजन ने किया, इसलिए हम भी करते हैं. 2013, currency was collapsing, if you remember, from 50, it went to 68, 70. That time our forex reserve was close to $280 billion or something. And we tried first defense using forex reserve. We spent some $100 billion. Nothing happened because it was a cancer inside. It's a fundamental problem because of all these banking and all that, right? Then we took this desperate measure of telling NRIs, ki paisa de do, I will guarantee your future thing. And they gave money, rupee stabilized. Fortunately, economy stabilized and we repaid some 20, 30 billion. There was no need for that now. We have $700 billion. Use some reserves and they did not use the reserves also. Go to the market, use some reserves, stabilize the rupee. And it'll, so, and they've kept interest rate also too low. Hike some interest rate by 50 basis points. And that would have protected the rupee. So by doing this, now we are, now what people are doing, and this better. I'm sure you would have advised this to people if you were in Morgan Stanley. Just for your viewers, NRIs have FCNR account, foreign currency non-convertible. It's like they're putting in dollar. They take it out in dollars. Now in the new scheme, what the RBI said is you deposit money, your future value will be guaranteed after some time. Therefore, you don't have to worry about currency depreciation, right? But they are allowed to borrow so many times of their deposit. So in the US, you use your Indian whatever deposit, borrow X times. Borrowed money, you put it in India because now your returns is guaranteed and you take it back. So all of them are going to take back after 2-3 years. And that time, God alone knows, if the economy is stable, it will have no problem. But if you have raised like 50 billion, 100 billion, unnecessarily you will have outflow after 3 years. And then there will be a sudden collapse of the rupee. And if that happens, I am not for collapse of the rupee. Collapse is not good because you have to make plans. Business, it will hurt the business plan. I am for smooth movement of the rupee. For smooth movement, this kind is not required. This is like buying time we were not in such kind of a desperate situation to buy time and plead from NRIs or investors. There's nothing desperate like that. 96 was not a sign of economy collapsing and we overreacted. That's what I think. So therefore, if they continue on this path of appreciating the rupee, you can't hold me accountable. You should hold me accountable if they let rupee depreciate and exports don't pick up and people are unhappy with it.